So one of the most common questions we get are parents on the end of a phone or email saying, my child's crying too much, or my child's not crying at all. So children, bless them, can't seem to find anything that on that continuum that will be sufficient for a parent. So, and I understand as a parent, that concern. And I think it really gets back to subjective, how I as a parent were raised. Were emotions in my formative house as I was growing up, were they given some space? Was I encouraged to express my feelings? Could I cry without mum or dad rushing to stop me? Could I express anger without that being shut down? So there's a lot of different variables and factors to look at when we talk about what's a natural grief expression. Personality plays a big bit, temperament plays a large role, the family environment, the family dynamic. And so we look at grief reactions on a continuum. As with most things in life, it's a continuum. And on one end, we've got covert grievers, which keep things close to their chest. They don't let out a lot of feeling. They don't talk that much about emotional stuff, cry every now and then when things get really overwhelming. So really covert grievers. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have overt grievers who are quite expressive and quite open with their feelings, cry as a way to communicate, love talking about how they're feeling, what's going on inside. And normally we're not one or the other, it's a continuum. We're predominantly usually one or the other, often depending on who we're with if we feel safe. And so one of the questions that we ask parents or school counsellors who are concerned or other professionals, what was that child like before their mum died? Were they big emoters? Did they cry a lot? Did they cry in movies? Did they talk about their feelings much? Quite often the answer is no. And so we would say, well, look, that gives you a pretty good indication now that their grief won't be something that they cry about, won't be something they talk about, because that's who they are and that's exaggerated. And so there are heaps of other ways that children can express their feelings, express their grief, other than through talking and crying. Now, in this day and age, in Australia, we tend to accept girls and women crying more. Boys and men seem to be still have that hurdle to get past about being emotional or talking about their feelings, crying, particularly in public. So there's that social conditioning as well. So a lot of different variables, a lot of different factors. And there are other ways other than crying and talking about it to express grief. And at a friend's place here, we use a lot of art and a lot of craft. We use photos, we use the outdoors to help children put language around feeling. So it's not just crying, it's not just talking about emotions.